The last thing my daughter-in-law said to me on Christmas morning was, "Don't come back." I stood there, holding a plate of gingerbread cookies and a gift for my grandson, the one I could hear crying inside. But I didn't fight. I just smiled and whispered, "Good luck with the mortgage." They thought it was a joke. They didn't know I'd spent the last month tracing every penny of the loan they'd taken out, in my name. This isn't a story about revenge. It's about what happens when the nicest person you know finally stops being nice. I didn't always think this way. For 65 Christmases, I was the woman who mailed cards too early, who saved every childhood ornament, who believed family first, even when it left her sitting alone at a table set for 4. A retired librarian with more cats than guests, if you'd asked my neighbors. But last December, I stood on my son's porch at 7 a.m., gripping a plate of gingerbread cookies still warm from the oven, the ones my grandson, Liam, used to call Grandma's magic bricks. I could hear him laughing inside, that squeaky little giggle he got when someone tickled him. My fingers tightened around the red package in my other hand, the Polar Express book, the same one I'd read to Mark every Christmas Eve until his voice outgrew the tradition. Then Jenna opened the door. No Merry Christmas. No, he's been asking for you. Just her manicured hand blocking the gap like a velvet rope at some exclusive club. You shouldn't have come. And that's when I felt it, that icy crackle in my chest, the same one I'd ignored for years when she forgot my birthday, when Liam's artwork mysteriously vanished from their fridge, when Mark started answering my calls with, "Can't talk, Mom, Jenna's got me on a schedule." But this time I knew, because 3 weeks earlier, a banker named Greg had called me about a refinance celebration, except I'd never signed anything. And when I pulled the paperwork from my purse that morning, right there next to Liam's half-eaten cookie from last visit, I saw it, my signature, perfectly forged, down to the little heart over the I I'd added since 3rd grade. So when Jenna smirked and said, "We'll send Liam's thank you note," I just smiled back. Good luck with the mortgage. Because quiet librarians notice everything. And this one, she just found her villain. The cracks didn't start with the mortgage papers. They began with the silence, that heavy, humid kind that makes your skin prickle. At first, it was just little absences. Mark forgetting our weekly coffee date. "Sorry, Mom, Jenna scheduled Liam's dentist appointment." Liam's crayon drawings disappearing from my fridge. He's moved on to finger painting at school. Then came the excuses, always so polished, like Jenna had rehearsed them. Liam has a fever. Mark's working late. We'll see you next weekend. Funny thing about next weekend, it never actually came. The turning point? That Tuesday in October. I'd brought over Liam's favorite, peanut butter cookies with chocolate chips still warm in their Tupperware. Through the frosted glass door, I saw my grandson's silhouette bouncing toward me, his stuffed moose dangling from one hand. "Grandma!" Then, whoosh, Jenna materialized like a stage manager cutting the scene. She opened the door just enough for me to see Liam's tiny fingers gripping the doorframe. Not today. That's when I noticed it. The way Mark's shoulders hunched in the kitchen behind her, like he was trying to fold himself out of existence. The way Liam's happy scream got abruptly muffled, like someone had covered his mouth. I should have walked away. But librarians, we notice patterns. That night, I started a list in the back of my recipe book. Oct 3, Jenna forgot our lunch plans. Oct 17, Mark canceled last minute. Work emergency. Nov Chapter 1, Liam's birthday party invite got lost in mail. The pages filled faster than my Christmas card list. Then came December 5th. The envelope from First National looked like another credit card offer, until I saw the numbers, $287,000. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped my tea. There it was, my signature with the little heart over the I I'd added since 3rd grade. Except I hadn't signed anything since my hip surgery in September. Suddenly, all those rescheduled visits made sense. The way Mark would change the subject whenever I mentioned finances. That time, Jenna accidentally took my house keys to make copies and kept them for weeks. I stared at the forged signature until my vision blurred. That's when the second realization hit. The notary stamp, dated the exact Tuesday I'd brought those cookies. While I stood on their porch, holding Tupperware, someone inside was stamping away my life savings. And Mark, his signature, sat right beside mine. That's when I made 2 decisions. I'd get my grandson back. I'd make damn sure Jenna remembered why you never cross a libraria who knows how to research. Because here's what she didn't realize. When you steal from a woman who's already lost everything, you're not just committing fraud, you're writing her revenge manual. That night with the mortgage papers, I didn't just lose sleep. I lost the version of myself that still believed in happy endings. The tea I made sat untouched until dawn, growing cold like my memories of Mark's childhood, back when his biggest secret was stealing cookie dough from the fridge. Now here I was, staring at a document where my own son had let someone erase and rewrite me. But the real knife twist? Liam's tiny fingers gripping that door frame. That image haunted me more than any bank statement, because while Jenna saw me as an ATM, my grandson still saw Grandma, and she was using him as human shield. I chose the cafe near Mark's office deliberately, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows where lawyers from the courthouse next door held meetings. Let him try yelling here. When he slunk in 10 minutes late, I barely recognized him. His shirt was wrinkled in that way Jenna used to iron out, and his eyes kept darting to the exit like a cornered animal. No hug, just a stiff, "Hey, Mom," that tasted like guilt. I slid the envelope across the table, watched his Adam's apple bob as he read the first line, $287,000, notary stamp, forged signature. His hands shook so badly the paper rattled. Jenna said, "Stop." My voice surprised even me, calm as a frozen lake. "Did you watch her do it? Hold the pen for her too?" The way his face crumpled told me everything. "We were going to pay it back before you noticed," he whispered, fingernails digging into his palms. "The notary's her Pilates friend. She said it was just paperwork." I almost laughed. Paperwork. As if committing felony fraud was the same as renewing a driver's license. Then came the kicker. Jenna said you'd want to help, that you'd understand it was for Liam's future. That's when I felt it. Something deep in my chest snap. Not anger, not even hurt, just grief. Grief for the boy who used to hand me dandelions like they were roses, now reduced to parroting his wife's lies with dead eyes. Her call came at 9:17 p.m., right when she knew I'd be watching Jeopardy, my one sacred ritual. "So," her voice was all manicured nails and venom, "you gonna sue your own family over some paperwork error?" I let the silence stretch, counted the ticks of Grandma's antique clock on the wall. 1, 2, 3. "If I do," I finally said, "will you be representing yourself, or does your Pilates friend have a law degree too?" The click of her hanging up was sweeter than any Christmas carol. The glittery gold envelope arrived 2 days later. No return address, just like a ransom note. Inside, a staged Christmas miracle. Liam in matching pajamas, smiling under their designer tree, with the Polar Express book I gave him in his lap, Jenna's perfect little prop. But there, in the bottom corner, barely in frame, was my handwritten tag, "To my sweet Liam, never stop believing." She'd left it on purpose, a flex, a joke, proof that my love could enter her house even if I couldn't. That photo didn't just hurt, it rewired me, because in that moment I realized this wasn't about money, this was about erasure. And honey, no one puts a librarian in the shredder. Diane answered on the second ring. My college roommate turned bulldog attorney who'd once made a judge cry. "Tell me you kept the envelope," were her first words after hearing everything. Down to the glitter. Her laugh could have cut glass. "Good. Now listen close. We're not just playing defense. We're going to bury them in their own paper trail." She walked me through the nuclear option. Discovery requests for every bank statement. Forensic document analysis on the forgery. Subpoena, the Pilates notary. "But here's the real kill shot," Diane purred. "We demand the sale of the house under co-owner rights. Let's see how cozy their Christmas looks in a rental." I stared at Liam's photo on my fridge, right next to his old crayon drawings. Do it. But what we found in those bank records, let's just say, Jenna should have stuck to forging Christmas cards instead. What we found in those bank records, let's just say Jenna's creativity belonged in prison, not preschool planning, hidden accounts, luxury charges under Liam's name, $2,400 to future elite preschool consultants, wild $800 for a mommy makeover spa weekend, even a $5,000 Gucci charge disguised as educational supplies. I guess those gold-embossed diaper bags don't buy themselves. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at Liam's photo on my fridge. That crooked baby tooth smiling at me like nothing was wrong. And for the first time, I asked the real question, how do you save someone from a fire when they love their arsonist? I sent one final text to Mark, your favorite scones, Grandma's teacups, 1 hour, no lawyers, no Jenna. 3 days later, a single thumbs-up emoji replied, not even the yellow one, that grayish blue like a fading bruise. So I baked almond scones with extra glaze, the kind he'd sneak at 2 a.m. during finals week. Brewed Earl Grey in my wedding china, those hairline cracks webbed like my hopes. He arrived smelling like Jenna's perfume and stale excuses. For 45 minutes, I watched him push crumbs around his plate, waiting for anything, and I'm sorry, a she made me, even just remember when. Then, without looking up, Jenna says you're ruining Liam's future. Not we betrayed you. Not we stole. Just, you're the villain now. The teacup cracked when I set it down. Not enough to spill, just enough to remember. Some breaks don't heal. That's when I saw it. The flicker in his eyes when I mentioned the Gucci charge. The way his fingers twitched toward his phone when I said notary fraud. He knew. Not everything, but enough, and still chose her. I walked him to the door, that old mom hug reflex rising in my arms, until I saw the fresh scratch marks on his wrist, like someone with very nice nails had grabbed him hard. "Mark," he flinched. "I gotta go. Jenna's expecting," and just like that, my son walked away, shoulders hunched like a man carrying invisible chains. That night, I did 3 things. Packed Liam's crayon drawings in fireproof safe, called Diane with 2 words, burn it down, opened the one box I'd sworn never to touch, my husband's old army footlocker. Because if Jenna wanted war, she was about to learn where quiet women keep their weapons. The plan was never about revenge. It was about remembering the woman who survived 30 years in a library basement budget war, the one who could sniff out a misfiled Dewey Decimal from 50 feet, the woman my husband fell for, not the gray-haired ghost Jenna tried to erase. That footlocker smelled like 1987, gun oil, cedar, and the cherry cough drops Jim always carried. Beneath his bronze star and a photo of us at Niagara Falls, the paperwork that would become my weapon, our house deed, 50-50 ownership, joint tenancy with right of survivorship. Funny how death makes some bonds unbreakable. Diane's dining table looked like a crime board, straight out of Law and Order. Bank records flagged with neon tabs. The Christmas ransom photo of Liam. Even his crayon drawings, carefully scanned with timestamps, from the day he'd shoved them through my car window, whispering, "Hide these before Mommy throws them away." Diane tapped the forged signature with a manicured nail. We hit them 3 ways: civil, criminal, and mortgage fraud. That's federal, honey. Step 1, discovery. We demanded everything. Every Venmo, every email, even Jenna's Pinterest boards. Turns out Dream Kitchen Mood Board costs $28,750 when you're spending someone else's money. Jenna's response? A motion claiming I had age-related memory impairment. Oh, she wanted to play medical? Fine. I attached my recent physical results, including the note from my doctor. Patient could out-catalog a supercomputer. The forensic analyst took one look and snorted. This isn't just forged, it's lazy. The heart over my eye drooped left. The pressure points were all wrong. Worst of all, they'd used blue ink. I only ever sign in black. Jenna's Pilates friend lasted exactly 4.2 seconds when Diane mentioned felony charges. She told me you'd agreed over the phone, the woman babbled. Mark was right there nodding. They even brought cookies. Turns out those cookies were my gingerbread, the ones Jenna stole from my freezer the day she took my keys. Poetic justice tastes like stale molasses. The settlement sham. Their lawyer's offer was almost cute. A lump sum, less than they stole. A written apology, as if this was some playground tiff. Visitation rights. To my own grandson, I countered with full sale of the house, my half-wired directly to me, restraining order against Jenna. Every weekend with Liam. Their reply? Jenna will move out, but Mark and Liam stay. Diane nearly spat out her bourbon. They think this is custody negotiation? The judge, a no-nonsense woman with a silver bun, took 3 minutes to rule after seeing the forged documents. The notary's tearful confession, Mark's own affidavit, admitting he watched Jenna sign my name, house ordered sold, proceeds split, 50-50. But here's what wasn't in the ruling. The way Mark's hands shook when he realized he'd be the one telling Jenna. The way Liam's teacher called me that afternoon to say he'd drawn Grandma's new house during recess. Jenna left like a thief in the night, which technically she was, just shredded photos and a lingering cloud of $200 per ounce perfume. Liam? He cannonballed into my arms, sticky fingers clutching a crumpled paper. Look, I drew your kitchen with the cookie jar up high so Mommy can't take them. We rebuilt that day, not with lawsuits or deeds, but with gingerbread trains, extra icing, a new crayon drawing on the fridge, and one very specific empty space where Jenna's favorite vase used to sit. I should have known it wasn't over, because 3 days later, a letter arrived, thick ivory paper, Jenna's looping script, and one sentence that made my blood freeze. Did Mark ever tell you about the other loan? That ivory envelope sat on my kitchen table for 3 days before I could bring myself to touch it again. The words, other loan, burned brighter than the forged mortgage ever had. Turns out, Jenna hadn't just stolen my money. She'd gambled with my life. The life insurance policy was the final puzzle piece. A $500,000 payout for accidental death taken out 6 months ago, right after I'd refused to co-sign their vacation home loan. Mark's signature sat beside Jenna's, shaky but present. I'd like to say, I was shocked, but by then, the only surprise was how obvious it all seemed in hindsight, the way Jenna always insisted on making my tea just right, the loose step on their porch she kept forgetting to fix, that urgent text last summer, "Mom, can you drive Mark to his colonoscopy?" I mixed up the dates. I never made it to that appointment. My car, mysteriously, lost brakes on the way. Diane didn't gasp when I showed her the policy, just muttered, "Jesus H. Christ," and reached for her legal pad. We moved fast. Forensic accountant traced the premium payments to Jenna's secret PayPal police report filed for attempted murder. Turns out brake lines don't cut themselves. New will, leaving everything to Liam. In a trust, even Mark can't touch without supervision. Jenna was arrested at a Neiman Marcus, trying to return a $3,000 purse she'd bought with my stolen credit line. Her mugshot went viral, streaked mascara, designer sweater, and the exact shade of orange that happens when you mix spray tan with jailhouse fluorescence. Mark showed up at my door a week later, hollow-eyed and holding Liam's dinosaur backpack. "She lied about everything," he whispered. "Even the preschool consultant was fake." I wanted to hug him. I wanted to slap him. Instead, I just took the backpack and said, "Liam's room is ready. It's got the race car bed you picked out when you were 6. Some wounds don't heal clean. Mark lives in a studio apartment now, attending court-mandated therapy. Liam spends weekends with me building cookie forts and drawing blueprints for our future. Grandma's house, no mommies allowed, in wobbly crayon letters. As for Jenna, 12-18 months for fraud and coercion. The DA couldn't prove the attempted murder, but the judge made sure her cellmate is a former IRS agent doing time for embezzlement. Poetic justice smells like cheap bleach and regret. I thought the story ended there. Then last Tuesday, the doorbell rang at 8:17 p.m., that exact hour when Jim used to come home from work. On my porch stood a man I hadn't seen in decades. Richard, Jim's army buddy, the one who promised to check in if anything ever felt off. He held out a manila envelope, weathered at the edges. "Found this clearing out my footlocker. Thought you should see it before." His eyes flicked to Liam, building Legos in the living room. Before he starts asking about his grandfather. Inside, a photo of Jim and Richard standing beside a safe deposit box, and a key, number 217. Because here's what no one tells you about revenge. Sometimes it's not about winning. Sometimes it's about discovering the game was rigged from the start. And that key, it opens more than just a box. It opens a door to everything Jim never told me, including the real reason he left that footlocker behind. I haven't opened the box yet. The key sits on my nightstand, next to Liam's drawing, a cracked photo of Jim in uniform, and a teacup that still smells faintly like Earl Grey. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the next quiet evening, when the house settles and Liam's laughter fades upstairs. Maybe when I'm ready to know what Jim never said aloud. Because here's what no one tells you about surviving betrayal. It doesn't end with justice, or even closure. It ends with the choice to live forward, without letting the past steal your softness. Some days, I still flinch at the doorbell, but most days, I greet it with flour on my hands and hope in my chest. And if you're listening to this, wondering if it's too late to take your story back, it's not. Sometimes all it takes is one quiet woman and one key you were never supposed to find.